Hi everybody, my name is Kaylee and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Okay everybody, hi, happy Saturday. You might be seeing this very late Saturday or like 1 in the morning Sunday. But sorry I didn't post last week. I had to go up to Pittsburgh and then drive back down here. I had to get my dogs. Speaking of, everybody say hi to Finnegan, my little baby. Okay, I have a quick question. I'm gonna get into the story time, but I keep finding injured birds. Yeah, I keep finding them, okay? And I don't know, like, you know, because like some shit's like spiritual or whatever. I don't know if this is like a bad thing, you know? Like, does it mean something bad is gonna happen to me or what? Because I found another bird, a blue jay, just literally sitting there. And I was like, all right, I'm not gonna touch it, you know? Like, this is happening way too much. I feel like this is like a coincidence, you know? That like this bird's just sitting here letting, you know, my dogs go so close to it and everything else like that. So I'm just gonna leave it there. If it's still there tomorrow, I'll take it to the wildlife rescue center place, okay? What do you know? It's still there. And I'm like, shit. And I felt so bad because like if I would have took it the day before, like it probably would have been like feeling better because he was just sitting up, but then he was laying sideways. But I took him and they weren't open. They had like these little cages or whatever that you like put the animal in and then you write down, you know, like where you found it, because they would return them back to where we found them. And then I saw this little possum in one of them and he was so cute. But yeah, if you guys know anything about that, let me know because I'm getting concerned. Or I just keep finding them because God knows that I'm actually gonna take them to a wildlife rescue center instead of just leaving them to die. Anyways, okay, without further ado, I'm going to bring you guys up close. There we go. Okay, so before we get into today's story time, just my quick usual little rundown. For most of the video, I'll be looking in this direction because my mirror's over here and I would like to see what I'm doing. I do tell these story times in a first person point of view, so if you don't like that, then you can leave.
There's the door. There's the door, bitch!
And these story times are sent in by anonymous people. Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, let's get into today's story time. Story time about how my boyfriend beat up his ex-girlfriend for me. You know, I don't even know what to say about this title because it's like, he probably did it for good reason, so he isn't as shitty of a person as a lot of the men are, but at the same time, there's no reason for that kind of violence. All right, so a little background information. I was 15 years old and a freshman in high school, and during the middle of my freshman year in high school, my family and I had to find a new place to live because my landlord had double the rent in the house that we used to live in. So we ended up moving into the city, which was about 30 minutes away from my old school. It was in a really shitty area where all the shootings, the drugs, and the badass kids were. Not that my old neighborhood was safe at all. Like, it definitely wasn't too much better than the neighborhood that I live in now. But you felt safe enough to walk outside knowing that you weren't gonna get mugged or shot at. For example, as we are moving our stuff into our new place, we shut the U-Haul, and I guess that my dad forgot to lock it because we went inside to go eat. And we come outside after we're done eating, and there were literally like 8 kids inside this fucking U-Haul stealing our shit. Literally after less than 12 hours of us being in that fucking neighborhood. So we ended up moving in the middle of my new school's winter break. So I pretty much just spent the whole week inside watching my younger siblings because our parents didn't want us being friends with any of the children in our neighborhood because, like I said, these kids were bad as fuck. So fast forward to the first day of school. Well, I guess my first day of school. I had somehow already made enemies without even stepping a foot on the school property. Before I even made it to the fucking school, I already had bitches that wanted to murder me, okay? So I would usually wake up at 7 o'clock and the bus comes around 7:50, you know, and my house is probably like I would say like 10-minute walk from the bus stop. So fast forward, I am walking to the bus stop and on my way there, I see this girl. Okay? And she's literally getting jumped in the parking lot of an abandoned church. And when I tell you this girl was getting the shit beat out of her, these girls were kicking her, punching her, pulling her hair, dragging her fucking face across the damn pavement. Well, I guess that I had been staring for too long because before I knew it, one of the bitches fucking snaps their neck to look at me. And she's like, what the fuck are you staring at? And then bam, all of them come chasing after me. I'm like, what the fuck? You guys were just beating on her and now you want to come for me? Like, go back to her. The fuck did I do? I'm just an innocent bystander. What the fuck? Well, I guess not an innocent bystander to them. So pretty much I had 3 bitches running after me and I didn't have anywhere to run but home. Because sure, I could have ran to the bus stop, right? But they're not just gonna, like, it's not like a, you know, safe space. You know how, like, whenever you're playing tag or something, you know, like, sometimes there will be, like, a safe thing where you put your hand on it, you know, and, like, nobody can tag you or something. Yeah, like, the bus stop wasn't that. What, I would get there and they would still beat the shit out of me? Like, what the fuck? So I started running home, of course, and my parents had already gone to work. As for my younger siblings, they're at daycare. Well, thankfully, I was able to fucking make it to my house. I made it onto the porch, unlocked the door, ran inside before any of them had the chance to fucking grab me. And these girls were fast as fuck, okay? Let me tell you something, right? One of the girls, I found out later that she did track and field and she literally broke like half of the school's fucking records. So I'm surprised this bitch didn't fucking grab me by my neck and literally just start beating the shit out of me. Like, I'm surprised I was even like able to get into my house as fast as I did. Like, if that didn't show you how fucking fast my adrenaline was going, like, I was just like ready to go, bitch. So like I said, I made it inside and then all the fucking sudden they're screaming and yelling outside my fucking house like fucking weirdos. One of them's like, come out, pussy, I'ma catch you, you just wait, da 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 da, you can't hide in there forever. And I'm like, oh my god, like, I literally feel like I'm in a fucking movie where like the bully's like, you know, oh, are you scared, da, 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 da. Like, yes, I'm scared, the fuck. So yeah, they were screaming outside my house. Also, I forgot to mention that it's like 10 degrees outside, you know, winter break. Surprised I didn't fucking slip on some ice and break my goddamn neck running to my house. Oh, and then also, to make it even worse, these girls literally had plastic bags over their boots covered in fucking blood. What the fuck? What the fuck? Yeah. Like, you literally would have thought that they had went skipping and puddles of blood. Like, la 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 la. It was bad. So I decided to stay home that day from school, which is understandable because who the fuck is risking their life to go to school? Let's be honest. Fuck no. So I saw the bus drive by my house and I decided that I was gonna go and check on that girl and see if she might have still been there. And I felt safe enough to do this because I knew those girls were on the bus because they were yelling and screaming out the bus windows and stuff. Like, it is fucking damn near 8 in the morning and of course these are the bitches that are the annoying ones on the bus who make everybody's life a living hell whenever they just want to relax before school. I always hated those kids. Like, can I just get in like 5 more minutes of sleep before we have to go to hell? Please and thank you. Anyway, so like I said, I go and I check on this girl and she was literally still laying there in the snow. There's blood all around her. Her face was fucked up. Not to mention, she didn't really even have a winter coat on, so she was like freezing to death. So I get her up and I ask her if she wants to come home with me, she wants me to call the cops, or she wants me to take her home. And she could barely respond, so I was like, all right, fuck it. We're just gonna go to my house, you know, I'll take care of her there. So I took her to my house, got her cleaned up, and we pretty much just hung out until my mom got home. So then, you know, my mom offers to drive her home because she didn't want these girls catching her again. And my mom didn't call the police or take her to the hospital or anything like that because my mom grew up in the hood and her like code that she lives by is you don't snitch, you handle the problem by yourself. So anyways, now because of this whole thing, I thought that I may have a friend, you know, just maybe, because, you know, we pretty much like had a common enemy now, you know. Not saying that that's gonna like bond us right then and there, but it's a good way to bond with somebody. So anyways, over the weekend, her and I, we hung out literally all day, the whole weekend, and we both got along super well. We were actually way more similar than I thought we were going to be because of how we grew up and our families, you know. So I felt like a genuine connection to this girl. Now at this time, I'm thinking about how lucky I was because usually it takes people a little bit longer, you know, especially to make friends, let alone a best friend, especially when you're ripped out of your life and school with the kids that you grew up with and you're just put into a new school where you don't fucking know anybody. So Monday rolls around. I'm not too scared to walk to the bus stop by myself because now I had my new friend Adrian. As I'm walking, Adrian and I are texting and she tells me to meet her at the end of my street so we can walk together. So there I am standing at the bottom of her street, and eventually she texts me saying that she's running a little bit late and that we should meet at the corner store, which I was more than okay with, okay, because I did not want to be standing in the same place for way too fucking long. Like, what if one of these bitches is walking past me and they recognize me and beat the shit out of me? No thanks. So I get to the corner store and I am leaning against the wall playing on my phone with my headphones in, and all of a sudden I'm on the ground getting my face smashed in by 4 girls.
Got him!
Yep. I literally couldn't see shit because they had my my hoodie pulled over my face. And I'm also covering my face because I don't want these bitches fucking up my face. My bread and butter. No. But while I'm covering my face, I kind of go like this a little bit. And who do I see? I see Adrian kicking me. Yep. This fake ass bitch. And let me just tell you how fucked up my neighborhood is, okay? I'm getting my ass beat at the corner store that is around a bunch of people who are on their way to work and stuff like that, you know? While I'm getting my ass beat, I hear people walking past, taking pictures. Oh shit. Like, nobody thought to just rip one of these bitches off of me. Nope. And this ass beating was like 3 minutes long, okay? Now, I know that one of y'all are gonna fucking say, 3 minutes, that's not even bad, da-da-da-da-da. A lot could happen in 3 fucking minutes, okay? Okay. Like, let's do the math. 4 bitches over top of me, kicking, punching, dragging me, who's 110 pounds, on the fucking concrete. So no, I'm not being over dramatic, okay? Okay, I got the shit beat out of me. Thankfully, after what felt like forever, it was over. Thank God. Like, I really thought that, like, I wasn't gonna make it out of there alive. So yeah, you know, I'm literally just laying there curled up in a fucking ball. And before they walked away, they were like talking their shit, you know, like, next time mind your business, bitch, you know, stay in your fucking place. And I was confused as to like what the fuck just happened. Like, I knew I got my ass beat, but at the same time, Adrian, you fake ass bitch. We literally just spent the whole weekend together. Like, what the fuck? People are weird. Anyways, like, I haven't even had my fucking first day of school because of all this fucking bullshit drama that I shouldn't even be involved in. Like, I didn't see y'all run after any of the fucking people that were watching you beat the shit out of me. Like, what about them? So fast forward, I get home and I start doing a little bit of stalking, okay? Actually, not really stalking, research. So I went onto Adrian's Instagram, and before, whenever I had first looked at her Instagram, you know, whenever we first hung out, she didn't have any pictures of her and these girls up, like none whatsoever. But now all of a sudden, these bitches are best friends, and they have been for fucking years, because as I'm scrolling down her Instagram, because she posts like fucking every day, her ugly ass face, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, there's pictures back from like 6 years ago with these bitches. Like, Adrian really played me. And then it all starts to make sense. What probably happened is they probably all got into a fight, everyone against her, and then they beat the shit out of her, and then they became friends again. And then they found out that she was hanging out with me, and then they decided to make a plan to beat the shit out of me. And it also makes sense because literally the whole time that she was over my house, she wouldn't talk shit on them or tell me what happened between all of them. Like, I get it, you know, like, I'm a new person, you don't want to, you know, like, expose, you know, your whole life to me, but, you know, it was just weird because usually someone would, you know, at least give a little bit of detail behind the situation. But yeah, whatever. So I go home and I get myself cleaned up, and that's whenever I just made a plan to start fucking walking to school. Like, I'm just gonna start getting up early as fuck and walking. Because I'm sorry, but I'm too fucking cute to be getting my ass beat every single fucking day by some musty ass fucking bitches. Like, when I looked in the mirror, I had a busted lip, and one of them must have had a ring on or something because my eyebrow was busted open as well. Thankfully, there weren't any really bad bruises. at least on my face. Any that were visible, I did a really good job of covering, which thank God, because covering up bruises on your faces or like anywhere that's visible is just fucking shit show and so much work. But really the only bruises were, you know, like on my ribs and other parts of my body. You know, no biggie. I can't really breathe, right? And it kind of feels like one of my ribs is out of place, but it's okay, no biggie, as long as my face is good. So fast forward to the next day, on Tuesday, I get up at like 6:20 in the morning, and I am fucking determined to look my best that fucking day, okay? Because I'm not about to let these bitches think that they got the fucking best of me. No bitch, not today. I'm still going to be the bad bitch that I am, and I'm gonna walk in there like I fucking own the place. And not to sound conceited, but I look way better than all three of them put together. All four of them put together, okay? Like, they're fucking ugly. So like I said, I get ready at 6:20 in the morning, and the school is about a 45-minute walk away from my house. So I would make it there around 7:10, and which was good because this gave me enough time to get my ass to my locker, do what the fuck I needed to do, and get to class before I had to run into any of those bitches. Because the buses would usually get to school around 8, so I had more than enough time to do what I needed to fucking do. So fast forward, the bell rings, and you know, I'm feeling like there's nothing that could go wrong right now, thank God. Well, fast forward, I'm sitting in class, and I'm minding my own business when all of a sudden the teacher asked this girl, who has a desk next to hers, to pass out our worksheet. Well, of course, it just so happens to be one of the girls that helped beat my ass was the fucking teacher's helper. Of course. But if I'm being completely honest, this was a surprise to me because I thought that all four of them were fucking dumb. Because usually, you know, I would categorize the kids who get into fights and do drugs as dumbasses. But we're gonna call this girl Delaney. Now, Delaney was a senior and she wanted to go to school to be a teacher after she graduates. So she's pretty much like the teacher's assistant, you know, she has her head shoved up her fucking teacher's ass so fucking far. But anyways, yeah, so she's like the assistant, does whatever the teacher tells her to. She's pretty much the teacher's bitch, which I think this is awful because she should not be working with children. But you know, whatever. I won't be surprised if I see her on the news in a few years going to jail because she beat the shit out of one of her students. I mean, God forbid, but if I'm being honest. Anyways, this fucking girl would literally not keep her eyes off of me. Like, take a picture, babe. It lasts longer. I know I'm cute. Anyways, no, but she was giving me a dirty look the whole time, and I was just sitting there minding my business. So as everybody is piling into the class, there is this one girl who sits next to me, and her name is Rihanna. And at this point, I'm not gonna lie, I'm low-key scared to really talk to anybody because of that Adrian bitch. Like I have mad trust issues now. Like, she really fucked me up. Like, how is it that I got played not even a month after I moved here? Like, I thought that it would at least take maybe a week or two for me to make any fucking friends, let alone enemies. Like, what the fuck? Anyways, so like I said, this girl Rihanna, she comes and she sits next to me, and she just starts talking right away, being super social. Meanwhile, I'm over here like, please get the fuck away from me. I hate everybody. No, but you know, I'm being pretty short with her, kind of trying to let her know that I really don't want to fucking speak to anybody at all. Like, you know how someone will be trying to talk to you and you just give short answers, not trying to be mean or anything, but in a way of kind of giving a hint that you're not in the mood to speak? Yeah, that was kind of what I was doing, or what I was trying to do. For example, you know, she's asking small talk questions like, what do you think of the teachers? And I'm like, I don't really care. And then she's like, do you think that any of the guys here are cute? And then I'm like, no, they're all fucking ugly. And then she starts laughing, of course, and she's like, you're funny, I like you. We're gonna sit together at lunch. Which I guess was good in a way, because now I had somebody to sit with at lunch. Because the original plan was to just sit in the bathroom. You know, I feel bad whenever, you know, there's just that one person that has to ruin it for everybody, because she really did seem like she was trying to be genuine towards me. But I'm not dumb, and I'm definitely not putting my guard down like literally one day after getting my ass beat. No thanks. Just jumping in here really quick. You know what this reminds me of? So I have a little story inside of the story time. So back whenever I was in 8th grade I was with my best friend and some girl who was not really my friend. I didn't really know her that well, but my best friend had been talking to this guy and he had been dating this really crazy girl. She wasn't crazy, okay? She was just young and in love, you know, and that was the first person that, you know, she lost her virginity to, you know, like she was very attached to him, But he had just broken up with this girl, okay? And this girl was threatening to beat up my best friend. And we're standing across from the gas station and I see a few girls run past like the end of an alleyway behind us. And I kept telling my best friend, you know, like, hey, this isn't a good idea. I think we need to leave, because we were in an area where these girls lived. You know, they weren't in the same school as us. And the plan was for this one girl to come and meet up with us and we would go back to her house. And my best friend was like, no, this girl doesn't like them either. They're not friends anymore. We're just gonna go with her and then we're gonna go to her house. Well, fast forward, we meet this girl in front of the gas station and we walk up the hill, and all of a sudden, even though these two girls aren't friends, his ex pops out from behind an alley with her other best friend, and then she's like threatening to fight us. And as soon as I saw this, I'm like, fuck this shit, bitch, and I ran. Like, I loved my best friend, you know, like I really did, would do anything for her, but I told that bitch that something bad was gonna fucking happen. So I literally ran. And then one of these girls punched my best friend in the face. Anyways, moral of that story, always trust your gut and don't trust bitches, period. Because if she would have listened to me, she wouldn't have got punched in the face. But you know what? It builds character. Anyway, so fast forward, after 3rd period, it's around 11:45 and she texted me to meet her by the gym. So I only did that because there were a bunch of people around the gym, because if there weren't people around, I wouldn't have met her. There was no chance in fucking hell I would have met her there. I would have been like, see you, bitch, I'm going to eat my food in the bathroom. Anyway, so Rihanna was one of those girls who could talk for fucking hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. Like, we waited in the lunch line for probably 10 minutes and I pretty much knew her whole life story. She has a boyfriend that she's been with since 5th grade. The relationship is low-key toxic as fuck. They break up like every other week and she'll break up with him so that way he will give her attention, and he'll break up with her and then he'll flirt with other girls to make her jealous, blah blah blah, you know, just your usual high school relationship. Oh, and she's an introvert and she doesn't have a lot of friends because of her older sister. So finally we get to the lunch table and we sit down at the table in the back of the lunchroom where there weren't really any teachers around, which low-key made me uncomfortable as fuck, because if one of those bitches catches me, nobody's gonna know about it. Because this lunchroom is also like a fucking 6-year-old's birthday party. It's loud as fuck, everybody's running around doing some weird shit, you know, spilling their fucking drinks on people, you know, just acting like complete children. So anyways, we're sitting there eating and my back is facing towards the rest of the lunchroom, and Rihanna, she's sitting across from me. She can see the whole lunchroom. And then a few minutes later, she waits for someone to come over to the table and she starts screaming. She's like, bitch, are you fucking blind? Over here, da da da, waving her fucking arms and shit. And then I turn around to look and see who she's waving to, and of course, just my fucking luck, I see the girls who beat my ass walking towards our table. And I didn't tell Rihanna about what happened between me and these girls because I don't really want anybody to know what happened, you know? Because I don't need people thinking that I'm weak and know that I'm not gonna do shit if they do something to me. I feel like whenever people know that you're not a fighter and shit, they're more likely to try you and disrespect you and walk all over you knowing that you're not gonna fucking do anything. So that's when I look at Ree and I'm like, hey, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not really feeling well, like, I need to go to the bathroom. And I go to get up, right? I go to get up, walk away from the table, not cause a scene or anything, and then I feel someone's hand on my shoulder pushing me back down onto my seat, and then I hear one bitch say, sit down, and I'm like, fuck my life, like, can you just leave me alone, like, please?
I'm tired of this, Grandpa.
That's too damn bad!
Like, I can't handle another ass beating, so I will sit down, but still. Like, I already feel like my fucking ribs are broken. So as I'm sitting there, I'm just acting like that was normal, but it was really the weirdest thing. They literally just acted like nothing happened. You know, like they didn't just beat the shit out of me yesterday. So Rihanna, she reintroduced me to everybody, even though they damn well already knew who the fuck I was. And all these girls were older than me. There was Adrienne, Delaney, Margot, and then Chanel. Chanel is Rihanna's older sister, and she seems to be like the ringleader. And now I understand why Ree had said earlier that she doesn't have a lot of friends because of her older sister. Like, now I know. Like, her older sister was a bitch, but her older sister also didn't come around that much because of this guy that she had been dating. Now let me give you the little rundown on that, right? They were kind of on and off, but she would usually skip school to hang out with him. Like, we wouldn't see her for 2 months, and then she would come back for a few days, and yeah. But eventually she came back to school for good, it seemed like, because she was sitting at our lunch table every single day. She wasn't skipping school, so they had to have broken up. And I want to say maybe 2 weeks after she came back, there were a few days where you could sign up for this art class during lunch, and Adrienne, Delaney, Rihanna, and Margot decided to sign up for it. I decided not to do it. I really wasn't fucking interested. I suck at art. And I would rather just play on my phone at lunch and eat. And I guess Chanel was late signing up because when I went to the lunch table and thought that it was just gonna be me, I saw Chanel walking over like 2 minutes later. And I'm like, fuck my life. So, you know, it's just her and I sitting at the table alone, and I felt extremely uncomfortable considering she was the one who initiated the fight between everyone. Like I said, she's like the ringleader, so she pretty much was the one who decided that they were gonna beat the shit out of me. But then she just starts talking to me, like out of nowhere. She was spilling every single detail about her relationship and her life. Like, for the past 3 months, I hadn't gotten close to anybody except for Rihanna, and pretty much everything that Chanel was telling me I already knew because Rihanna told me. But for good reason though, because literally I didn't want to get close to anybody else, because I'm sorry, but I am not about to be best friends with somebody who literally beat my ass for no reason. Like, you physically tried to hurt me. Well, not tried, they did hurt me. And the only reason why I didn't go to the hospital was because I'm not a snitch. But I'm pretty sure I have a broken rib, as I've been saying for the past like 20 minutes. Anyway, so like I said, she's telling me about her relationship, and we're gonna call her boyfriend Chris. She was showing me text messages between them because they were arguing while we were sitting there at the table, and she was asking me what she should say back to him and stuff. And then she goes on this whole rant saying, I don't care if him and I break up, I would literally beat the shit out of him and whatever bitch he gets with next. Like, that man and I are meant to be together. I've been there for him through thick and thin, and I am not about to let another bitch have him after I worked so hard to turn him into the man he is today. So then I'm like, oh, well, does he go to our school? And then she looks at me and she's like, why the fuck do you want to know?
Run, bitch! Run!
Like, girl, you're literally telling me your whole life story, and you're getting mad when I ask what fucking school he goes to? Make up your mind, you dumb bitch. Anyway, so I'm like, oh shit, fuck my life. It was annoying because I literally felt like I was walking on eggshells around this bitch. Like, I just asked what school he went to, and now all of a sudden she's about to beat my ass again. So I'm like, oh no, I meant so that way you guys could possibly talk this out in person. And she's like, oh, sorry. And then she starts telling me about what actually happened with Adrienne. She's like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm used to my friend stabbing me in the back, which, side note, I'm not her fucking friend. Anyways, back to what she was saying. She was like, sorry, I'm used to my friend stabbing me in the back, especially whenever it comes to my relationship with Chris, because I know the bitches want Chris. Like, that day that you watched Adrienne get her ass beat was for good reason, because she was texting Chris whenever him and I broke up, telling him that if he ever needed anything, just to let her know. And bitch, we all know what that means, because my thing is, how are you about to try to be there for me and be there for my ex at the same time? Make it make fucking sense. You don't even know him. And then she goes on to say, like, I would bring Adrienne and Delaney around Chris, so we would all hang out with him and his homeboys sometime, but they never hung out with Chris and I enough to ever be like that. So that's why I'm very protective of him, and I got my guard up, because I'm not about to let another one of my so-called friends, who usually end up being snake fucked me over by fucking my man. Like, I already got enough issues. I don't gotta worry about my friends causing more problems for me. I like how she just casually like threw in there, you know, oh, the reason why you saw Adrian get her ass beat, like she just didn't beat the fuck out of me afterwards. Like, wow. You gotta love it. Anyway, so Chanel and I, obviously, we're not close, okay? Never will be. But I can kind of understand why she felt the need to, I guess, like put Adrian in her place, because how are you gonna sit there and act like you're someone's friends and then do that to them? Fake as fuck. Anyways, so fast forward about a month, Chanel and Chris have been on and off, and my family and I were having a welcome home party for my older brother, because for the past few months he had been locked up in a juvenile detention center because my brother just so happened to be one of those badass kids, so he was going to fit in quite nicely at my new school. But anyways, I decided to invite Rihanna and her boyfriend to the welcome home party because she's pretty much been the closest thing I've had to a friend this whole time that I've been here. Okay, maybe I'm being a little bit dramatic. She actually really is my friend. Like, I'm only acting like she's not because I just still have my guard up from the whole Adrian situation. Well, instead of it just being Rihanna and her boyfriend, it was Rihanna, her boyfriend, and then Chanel, and of course Chanel ended up bringing her boyfriend Chris. And we're gonna call my older brother Jamie. So, you know, Jamie comes in the house and we all surprise him, and none of his friends were here because they still were in the juvenile detention center. But surprisingly, Jamie and Chris hit it off like immediately. Like, they just clicked instantly. And I was super excited that my brother was home because before he went away, I would just hang out with him and his friends all the time. And he's like super protective of me, so he never minded that I would always hang out with them. He really didn't care. If anything, he preferred it because he didn't want me getting my ass beat like by someone like Chanel. But actually, once I told him what happened with Margot, Chanel, Adrian, and Delaney, he definitely didn't want me being around them, and he literally had me like glued to his hip. So anyways, my brother ended up befriending Chris and all of Chris's friends. He fit in immediately. So during lunch, I would sit with Jamie, which meant that I was sitting with Chris and all of them, his friends. And like I said before, Chris, well, from what I said before, you guys can guess, Chris didn't really come to school. But my brother ended up getting him to come to school. Like, he influenced him because, well, actually, maybe not. No, it was the other way around, actually. Because, like I said, Chris and Jamie got close extremely fast. And my brother was like, if I don't go to school, I'm gonna get sent back, blah, blah, blah. And Chris was like, nah, I'm not about to let you go back. So I'll go to school if you start going. And voila, my brother started going to school. So did Chris. It was a really healthy friendship if you really think about it. Like, they're influencing each other to do good things. Usually it's influencing each other to do really bad things. The delusions. But yeah, so like I said, I started hanging out with them, and this was around the time whenever Chanel and Chris broke up, and she was telling me that she wanted me to get information on what Chris had been doing and if he was with other girls or just what he was just doing on a day-to-day basis. But my thing is, I'm not friends with Chanel. I'm not fucking friends with that bitch. And I've made it very clear to all of them to their faces that I don't like Chanel, Adrian, or Delaney, or fucking Margot. I only get along with them because I'm Rihanna's friend. And I know they know this because Rihanna literally had a fucking conversation with Chanel about this whole situation. She was like, listen, this is my only friend because you decide that you're gonna cause problems with every other friend that I've ever had, and you always drive them away. She was like, she doesn't want to be friends with you guys. She doesn't fucking like you guys. She wants nothing to do with you guys. So just leave each other alone and don't fuck this friendship up for me. Which, period, Rihanna, like, Brie really fucking, you know, stood her ground. I'm so proud of her. Anyway, so Chanel pretty much talked to her lap dogs and pretty much told them don't start any problems with her, don't give her any dirty looks, da-da-da, leave her alone. But yeah, so I'm not friends with them. They know that I don't want to be friends with them, but Chanel was like, yeah, like, just tell me anything that he does. And I'm like, they don't talk about that stuff in front of me, which was a fucking lie. They did. They talked about it to me constantly. Or not talk to me about it, but they would just talk about that shit in front of me. So anyways, I would hang out with them during school, and then after school, And I started getting really close with Chris. Yeah, I did. Like, him and I started off texting, and then we were on FaceTime almost 24/7, at least when we weren't hanging out with everybody. So about a month and a half later, my brother ended up getting sent back to the juvenile detention center because he beat the shit out of this one guy pretty badly. But it's ridiculous because we were at this party and my brother went down to the basement to go and grab some more beer, and there was this girl literally being assaulted by this guy. So my brother pulled him off of her, beat the shit out of him, and nothing happened to the guy because the girl said that he wasn't doing anything when literally he was like beating the shit out of this girl. They were boyfriend and girlfriend, you know, the toxic relationship where, you know, he beats the shit out of her, or, you know, she beats the shit out of him, gets a restraining order, they end up not staying away from each other, you know, and then it happens again and again and again. So my brother got sent away for that because he tried to help some girl who didn't want to be helped while she was getting her ass beat. Gotta love it. Anyways, so everybody that I've been hanging out with for the past like month and a half, they all considered me like a younger sister, and they promised my brother that they would keep an eye on me. So I was still hanging out with them, still sitting with them at lunch, and Brianna and I, we were still really close. She didn't really mind that I wasn't sitting with her because she knew how close my brother and I were. Also, she was friends with all of them, you know, Chanel, Margot, Delaney, whatever the fuck, Adrian. But now Chanel was keeping a really close eye on me, which I should have expected, because she figured that since Jamie wasn't around anymore, I should stop sitting with them and go back to sitting with them bitches. But now outside of school, Chris and I would hang out. He would come and pick me up from my house, and I really started to catch feelings for him. And there were a few times where Chanel confronted me while we would walk to the bus about like Chris being at my house and shit, you know, because she would see his car outside. But yeah, we're like standing there waiting for the bus, and she comes up to me and she's like 2 inches from my face, literally like this. And she's a whole foot taller than me, so I'm like looking up at her like I felt like I was being disciplined. Anyways, so her scary ass is like, why have I been seeing Chris parked outside your house whenever Jamie ain't there? And thank God I am a good liar, because right on the spot I'm like, oh well, like my brother and Chris were supposed to help my mom with some things around the house like they promised, and Chris was just keeping up his end of the promise. And she was like, all right, well let me find out that it's something more than that and I'll beat your ass again. Like, can we just solve our problems with a sit down talk instead of you beating my ass again? Maybe she can knock that rib back into place. Anyways, listen, I know that I'm young. Well, him and I are young, but I just knew that we were meant to be together, okay? And he treated me so well. Like, if I had a bad day at school, he would text me and he'd be like, okay, whenever you get home, get dressed into some clothes and, you know, do your makeup, do your hair if you want to. We're gonna go out, we'll go do something. He started coming to school every day to see me because he was gonna stop after Jamie went back. But yeah, he would come to school just to sit with me at lunch. And even over spring break, he literally got one of his older friends to get us a hotel room in South Carolina on the beach, and we went on vacation together. Now, Rihanna knew about all this. Like, just know that they're the same person, okay? I keep saying Rihanna and Rihanna and Brie. That's all one person, okay? Anyways, like I said, Rihanna knew about all this. Definitely not on purpose. I was not about to tell that bitch this shit was happening. Like, I really didn't want her to know, especially because, like, siblings are usually loyal to each other. Like, as soon as you do something wrong to, like, if you do something wrong to my sister and we're best friends, immediately, no, it's wraps. I'm picking my sister's side. But Rihanna was a hopeless romantic, thank fucking God. So when she found out, she was like, my sister and Chris don't belong together, blah, blah, blah. So she really didn't give a fuck. And she was just so happy that him and I were together. Like, she was telling me that he never treated Chanel that good. And also, Chris kept begging me to be his girlfriend. And I kept saying no because of Chanel. And he was like, listen, I'm not gonna let anything happen to you. I really want to be together. And it's really unfair that, you know, you're letting this stop us from being together. Like, oh my God, y'all, this man made my fucking heart melt. Where are the Chris's of the world? Where do I fucking get one? Because I'm tired of getting the fucking Walmart version, okay, bitch? Let us know the fucking secret. Anyway, so finally he asked me out. I said yes. And then he posted me on Instagram right after. Yep. right fucking after. Not only on Instagram, but Snapchat. He even posted me on fucking Twitter. Well, not even an hour after he did that, my phone was blowing the fuck up. So I answered the phone for Ree, and she's like, OMG girl, congratulations. I'm so happy for you. You guys are so cute together. But also, you might want to not leave your house for a few days. Or actually, you might not want to be near your house at all for a few days, because Chanel is going fucking psychotic, and literally all I can hear in the background is Chanel screaming and yelling. And then before the phone hangs up, she's like, is that bitch on the fucking phone? And then all I hear is Ree say, nope, boop. Phone calls ended. Like, I was scared for Ree at that point. I'm like, oh shit. Anyway, so Chris and I were on the phone later, and he's like, Chanel's blowing up my fucking phone. She keeps saying that she wants to talk to me. And I'm like, can you please go and talk to her and try to make things right, because I'm fucking terrified to leave my damn house. Like, I want to go to the store. I'm craving some fucking ice cream, and I can't even do that because she's gonna come and beat my ass. So fast forward, he goes to Chanel's house and tries to talk it out with her. Rihanna called me though, so that way I could listen in on the conversation between them. Now, I trusted Chris, but I just wanted to know what Chanel was gonna say. And it's pretty much Chris just saying that things aren't working between them anymore. They haven't been, and they've both known that things were over for a while. They just need to accept it. Chris was like, I've accepted it, now you just need to, you know, it'll be better for the both of us. And then, you know, there's Chanel saying that she's gonna kill me and that I'm a fake bitch. I'm just like the rest of her friends. Again, I'm not her fucking friend. She knows this. Anyway, so yeah, she's like, you better be that skank's bodyguard, because I swear to God, if you leave her alone for 5 seconds and I catch her, I'm gonna beat the shit out of her. And he's like, no, you're not. Like, you lay a hand on her and I'll kill you. Like, fuck around and find out, bitch. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, so I think I said this before, but if I didn't, Chris was picking me up and driving me to school every morning. So the one day, also, the day before this all happened, Chris and I, we were talking, and I realized that I hadn't gotten my period. So we go to the store and we get a pregnancy test, and it comes back positive. Yeah, it came back positive. So I was pregnant with Chris's baby, and this made him even more protective of me. So he actually slept at my house that night. Like, my parents didn't know. Like, he pretended that he went to go home, and he just parked his car down the street and then came and crawled through the window and slept with me that night. Anyway, so in the morning, he goes outside to warm up the car, and I'm walking out of the house. I turn around to lock the front door, and that is whenever I hear Chanel. So now, of course, Chris is way more overprotective than me than he was before. And they were all running towards my fucking house, and that's whenever Chris fucking jumped out the car as fast as he could, and he starts swinging on bitches. Like, no fucking remorse, nothing else. Like, you literally, his eyes, like, he wasn't focused on anything else. Like, it literally looked like he blacked out. Like, it was low-key scary as fuck. He punched Chanel in the face whenever she went to go and fucking grab me. And then Adrian comes running after me. He grabs that bitch by the fucking hair and throws her. So he's screaming at me to get in the fucking car. So I run and I get in the fucking car. And he's screaming at them and still fucking beating the shit out of them. He's like, Chanel, I told you don't fucking touch her. And, you know, she's crying and she's like, how can you hit somebody who, you know, you loved before and you cared about? Like, you never really cared about me. You never really loved me, because you wouldn't do this to somebody that you care about. And he's like, all right, Chanel, whatever. Believe whatever the fuck you want. Like, I really don't care. Stop going after her. Like, she didn't fucking do shit to you. Be mad at me, not her. And then pretty much every single day after that, Chris was my fucking bodyguard until Jamie got home. Eventually, thankfully, Chanel got a new boyfriend, and Adrian and Margot, they were running around being, you know, the fucking whores that they are. Delaney, she went off to college, and then we all lived happily ever after. Okay, everybody, that is the end of today's story time. If you guys like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more, maybe hit the subscribe button down below. And if you want to know whenever I post my next YouTube video, make sure to click that bell. And if you guys want to send in your anonymous story time, or you guys want to know how to send in your story time, make sure to click the links down below in the description. But other than that, I will see you guys next time with a new story time.